Hey Giancarlo, my man, it's so nice to have you on the show today. How is it going?
It's going great. It's going great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing quite fine, my man, and thank you so very much for being here. And you see, my man, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things, and I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, my man, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, you
Thank-
are on this platform right now because you did invest that in yourself. And oftentimes,
yeah,
Giancarlo, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Giancarlo, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked
yeah,
past it and I went my way. But you see, Giancarlo, just recently I was on that same road, and this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes, Giancarlo. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. I was so excited. Here's my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Giancarlo that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request for me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, how you're offering your solutions. These stuffs are beautiful. And just before I sent that request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Giancarlo is doing, not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Giancarlo. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, my man,
yeah. No problem. No problem. It's great to be here. I'm excited to sit down and chat with you. So thanks again for having me.
thank you. Beautiful, my man. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to a beautiful one, Giancarlo, I believe it takes the application of knowledge,
Yeah.
quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, my man, ever since I realized that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and
hmm
darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because
Yeah.
I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to
hmm
the listeners.
Yeah.
And the second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Giancarlo on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, my man, we live in an age where information, high happening, and important conversation is going to be impactful and insightful. So for that reason, my man, let's get started with your introduction.
So thanks again, for that introduction and everything. I really like what you said about the mango tree. It being ugly and then coming back a while later and it being, brutal, beautiful and prosperous and having mangoes and everything. So I think, yeah, I think the number one thing that I've learned in my life, both in personal and in my professional career. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, when I think back on my personal journey, I think that it was filled with a lot of adversity and challenges. And I think that the adversity and the challenges that I faced in my personal journey have been the adversity and the challenges that I faced in my personal journey have been what really shaped me as an individual human being. And not only in my personal life, but I was able to carry these skills and these qualities and these characteristics that I learned through experiencing adversity, setbacks, all the negative, dark times in my personal journey. And I was able to translate that into my personal life and my professional life. And it really shaped who I am today. You know, we learn a lot from our successes, both in personal and in professional world, but we learn a lot from our failures too and our setbacks. And failure is never final. Failure, true failure, comes from when you give up. As long as you don't give up on life, on yourself, on your career, you will never truly fail. You will only learn. And if every time I faced a setback in my life, personal, professional, anything it was, anytime I faced a setback, I think the most important thing to do, and I learned this quickly, is we all have a defect setting in our brains. And that defect setting is doubt, imposter syndrome, fear. So every time we think something is going to go according to plan and it doesn't, we doubt ourselves. We question ourselves. We have imposter syndrome. Why am I doing this? Why am I coming onto a podcast? Why am I, choosing to go the route I choose? But mindset has a lot to do with that. Being able to, I'm not saying necessarily not have that fear, that doubt, that imposter syndrome, but I'm saying to understand it, to feel it, to process it, and then to overcome it. Because life is about perseverance and resilience. Everybody goes through hard, dark times. Everybody goes through adversity, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your professional life, but it's what you do after that matters, not what happens to you, right? And I always like to say, pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional. We can't control the
Wow,
things.
wow, wow.
We can't control the things that happen to us in our life, but we can control what happens and how we react and how we persevere after, if we choose to persevere.
Amazing, my man. Wow, that's a beautiful word. And I'm definitely going to use that. Pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional. Wow, I got that. And you see, one thing that stood out to me listening to you speak is the fact that you don't just go through all of those experiences and abandon the lessons in it. You learn from each experiences, the hardships, the tough moments. You pick lessons from them all and you apply it into your personal life and professional. That's beautiful and that's very inspiring. So there's this part I'm curious about, okay? You dropped out of high school, all right? So how did how did your real estate journey truly begin?
I dropped out of high school. Yes, I don't have an academic background. I was never really one to, the programming was not for me, and I understood that, everyone around me, and there's a thing here, where I say where I'm from, but it's probably worldwide. We associate high school dropouts with flipping burgers. And we say, if you don't drop out of high school, you're going to flip burgers for the rest of your life. And I heard that my entire life, and that couldn't be further from the truth, right? Because when I came to a crossroads in my life with no academic background, no education, and I was weighing out my options, I discovered real estate. And for me at the time, real estate was up there with being a doctor or a lawyer. It was one of these careers where, number one, I didn't think I could get into without a high school, without graduating high school. But number two, it was one of the most career wise, it was one of the most rewarding things and best things I could have done for myself. See, I always possessed certain qualities and certain skills, regardless of dropping out of high school. I was hardworking, I was motivated, I was ambitious, and I was determined. And if you possess a combination of these skills, which really comes down to your mindset, then you could truly achieve anything you want, regardless of what the stereotypes around you say. For example, people were telling me, you're going to flip burgers, or, if you want to be a garbage man, you need to at least have a high school diploma. And if we listen to all this outside noise, what we do is we tend to not listen to our inner voice. Your inner voice needs to be stronger than the noise, external noise that you're around. I got into real estate and I knew this is the best thing I could do for my life. So let me go all in. And I applied my ambition, my motivation, and my determination to that career. And I've been grateful. It's been good to me ever since. There's challenges, like any other career in life, there's challenges, but that's just part of the game, that's just part of it.
Amazing, amazing. I love that. You see, everything about you is truly inspiring. And what you just shared now reminded me of the story that Napoleon shared in Think and Grow Rich, the part where he was talking about is it Burns, who said he was going to work with Thomas Edison, but not work for Thomas Edison. And he's got this burning desire. He was so clear in his head. And every obstacle to him was just like stepping stones. So I can really find a connection, and it's beautiful, the end result and the impact your work is having. I love it. So I'm curious, what was your first real estate deal like?
Man, my let's I'll take it to my first year was just trial and error, and being a young guy venturing with, again, no high school diploma, no education, venturing into this business world was like, I learned a lot about A, myself as a professional, and B, the business. And I think that my first deal, it was challenging. You know what I mean? But I've always been one to like challenges. I never really liked it easy because, once again, you learn through adversity, you learn through challenges, you learn through, trials and tribulations. And it was challenging, but I knew it was possible. And I knew it can be done, and I could see it through completion, you know? And there's something so rewarding when it comes to achieving something that's challenging. Things that come easy the things that come easy are never really A, appreciated, and B, valued, right? So it was a very challenging first year and first deal, and filled with a lot of doubt, filled with a lot of, imposter syndrome. But once I saw it through completion, there was this feeling of joy and relief, that I knew that first deal was the beginning of much more to come, of a lifetime, So, but it was very rewarding.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. So let's talk about investors. All right. So how do you, um, let's say like this. What mistakes do new investors often make, and how do you help them shift their mindset or strategy?
So I often see new investors make the same mistake that I made when I was new in real estate, is having that lone wolf mentality. I could do it all by myself. And here's what comes into this. It's ego and it's pride. We want to be able to say, I did it by myself. We want to be able to say, I don't need the help. I got this. But this costs us two things in real estate investing: time, which costs us money. And a lot of new investors I see make the mistake is they don't invest in education, in coaching, in mentoring. And I didn't invest in these things for the first 3 years of my career, 4 years maybe. And then I decided, you know what? I realized what it was. This is pride. This is ego. This is me wanting to be able to say, I did this by myself, for myself. But then when I changed that mindset and said, I need to learn from experts in the field doing what I want to do, I relieved that ego from the equation. And it helped my business so much. And it helped me evolve as a individual as well as a professional. And I see new investors make the same mistake. And I oftentimes tell them, you know, the lone wolf mentality, I understand it because I've been there. There's two things about this. Number one, you're going to waste a year before you come to a conclusion that maybe I do need some help, some coaching, some guidance. You know, maybe I do need to surround myself with a community of like-minded investors. And in that year, how much money are you going to lose in opportunities? Whereas if you would just look into finding a mentor to teach you, maybe it would cost you some money for the mentor, the education, the curriculum, the academic aspect of it, but it won't cost you near as much as it would cost you spending a year or 2 years making every mistake in the book and facing setback after setback. So when I work with, you know, new investors, often what I like to do with them is the first step is it's what I call the self-analysis. Let's take a look at you. Who are you individually and who are you as a professional? And by that self-analysis, we learn a lot about ourselves. Because if we don't have a clear picture of who we are as an individual and as a professional, we will never have a clear picture of how we could operate in our business or our life.
I got that. And that's a great approach to self-analysis. So what about this one? What is one key habit you think every investors or new investors should build?
One key habit. They're always trying to learn. They're always, always, always looking to improve themselves every day, even if it's 1%. You know, if you give 100% 2 times a year versus 1% every day, that 1% every day goes a lot further than that 100% that you give twice a year. So every successful investor I know is always trying to learn. They're always at conferences, they're always at seminars, they're always networking, they're always at workshops, they're always trying to connect with people. They're always trying to put themselves in a room where they could learn something. And I have a saying that I say, I like to go to bed smarter than I woke up today. And if I learned one new skill today in business or in my personal life, I like to go to bed smarter than I woke.
Profound words, and I got that. I'll take that as a final thought. So for folks who would like to reach out to you, Giancarlo, or learn more about everything we've discussed so far, or open your services or programs, how can that be possible?
So I'm very, very active on Instagram. You could reach out to me directly. My handle is Carangelo Real Estate. So Carangelo Real Estate. You could send me a message directly. I respond to every one of my messages. You could also have access to my link tree in my profile that has all the links there. So if you want to schedule a discovery call or a strategy session, that's available as well.
Beautiful. I got that. And so thank you so very much. Pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional. Thank you so very much, my man. So that's going to be the end of the show. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this powerful stuff with us. It means a whole lot, my man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.